Chapter 6. Hitting the Bullseye. One thing that surprised me at the convention in Boston was the large number of the nation's leading salesmen in attendance. Some of them had traveled all the way from California, Texas, and Florida. I asked my new friend, Mr. Hunsicker, about this. "Listen," he said, in a confidential way, "these top salesmen are all hungry for new ideas and always hunting for ways to do their job better. Attend as many sales conventions as you can. If you get only one idea, the time and money you spend will be the best investment you'll ever make. Besides, it'll give you an opportunity to meet some of the big fellows. Meeting them personally and hearing them talk will inspire you. You'll go back home with a new confidence and enthusiasm." This advice certainly worked out for me on that trip. Mr. Hunsicker himself was one of those big fellows, and the one idea he gave me was priceless. No wonder I had been missing the target so often. I didn't even know what the target was. In baseball, they say you can't hit 'em if you don't see 'em. After Clayt Hunsicker showed me the target, I went home and really began shooting at the bullseye. A couple of years later at the convention in Cleveland, a speaker whose name I've long since forgotten made a powerful talk on what he called Rule 1 of salesmanship. One example he used has always stayed with me. Here it is. One night, one of the main buildings of Worcester University burned to the ground. 2 days later, Lewis E. Holden, the young president of the university, went to see Andrew Carnegie. Coming immediately to the point, Lewis Holden said, "Mr. Carnegie, if you are a busy man, and so am I won't take more than 5 minutes of your time. The main building of Worcester University burned down night before last, and I want you to give $100,000 for a new one." Carnegie said, "Young man, I don't believe in giving money to colleges." Holden replied, "But you believe in helping young men, don't you? I am a young man, Mr. Carnegie, and I am in an awful hole. I have gone into the business of manufacturing college men from raw material, and now the best part of my plant is gone. You know how you would feel if one of your big steel mills was destroyed right in the busy season?" Carnegie said, "Young man, raise $100,000 in 30 days, and I will give you another 100. Holden said, "Make it 60 days, and I will go you." That's a weird thing to say. Holden says, "Make it 60 days, and I will go you." Carnegie said, "Done." Picking up his hat, Dr. Holden started for the door. Mr. Carnegie called after him, "Now remember, it's 60 days only." "All right, sir, I understand," answered Holden. Lewis Holden's interview had taken just about 4 minutes. Within 50 days, he raised $100,000. When handing over his check, Andrew Carnegie said, laughing, "Young man, if you ever come to see me again, don't stay so long. Your call cost me $25,000 a minute." Lewis Holden had shot straight for the bullseye. He knew one of the tenderest spots in Mr. Carnegie's heart was for ambitious young men. Dr. Holden probably had much to do with selling an idea far bigger than raising $100,000 for Worcester University. Andrew Carnegie finally gave away more than $100 million for the advancement of education. Holden applied this rule. Try to find out what people want and then help them get it. That is the one big secret of selling anything. Just recently I saw a superb demonstration of the wrong and the right way to apply this rule. I was in a large western city at the time when a man we'll call Brown phoned me at the hotel. He said, "Mr. Becker, my name is Brown. I'm going to promote a sales school here in the city for young salesmen, and I am hoping we can get started next month. I am holding a mass meeting tonight at the hotel where you are stopping. We have spent considerable money advertising the meeting, and I believe there will be a crowd of several hundred people. I would very much appreciate it if you would give us a little talk. We will have several other speakers, so you won't have to talk longer than about 10 minutes. I have learned from experience that unless I can form a large class out of this meeting, it is a losing proposition, so I would sure be grateful to you for your help, etc., etc." I didn't know this man, Brown. Why should I go out of my way to help him promote his project? I was busy with plenty of things I wanted to do for myself. Besides, I was getting to leave the following day, so I wished him success, but asked him to please let me off because of the extreme inconvenience to me right at that time. Later in the day, however, another man, whom we'll call White, phoned. He was calling me about exactly the same project. Let's listen in on his approach. Mr. Becker, my name is White, Joe White. I understand Mr. Brown has already told you about our opening meeting this evening at the hotel. I know how busy you must be, getting ready to leave, but if there is any way you could possibly arrange to be with us for a few minutes, Mr. Becker, you could do a lot of good. I know you are interested in helping young people, and our audience will be largely made up of young salesmen, ambitious to improve themselves and get ahead. You know how much this same training would have meant to you when you were trying to get started. I don't know of anyone, Mr. Becker, who could do more good at a meeting of this kind than you. The first man made the same mistake that I had been making and have kept right on making all the rest of my life if it hadn't, and might have kept right on making all the rest of my life if it hadn't been for Clayt Hunsicker. He talked about himself and his proposition, what he wanted. The second man never once referred to what he wanted. He shot straight for the bullseye. He appealed to me entirely from my viewpoint. I found it impossible to say no to this second kind of appeal. Dale Carnegie says, there is only one way under high heaven to get anybody to do anything. Did you ever stop to think of that? Yes, just one way, and that is by making the other person want to do it. Remember, there is no other way. Just before World War II, I was giving a series of lectures in several western cities. Invariably, after I spoke on this subject, a few men would come up to ask questions. One night in Des Moines, Iowa, a middle-aged man said, Mr. Becker, I can see how this idea has been a great help to you in selling life insurance, but I solicit subscriptions for a nationally known magazine. How could I apply it in my work? He and I had a frank discussion. This man had tried selling various lines for several years and obviously had grown very cynical. After I suggested a different method of approach to him, he left, but I didn't feel that he was very enthusiastic about our interview. The following Saturday morning, I was having my hair cut in the Hotel Fort Des Moines barbershop when the man rushed in and said he'd heard I was leaving on an early afternoon train, but he just had to tell me something. After your talk on Tuesday night, Mr. Becker, he said with surprising excitement, I realized why I wasn't getting anywhere. I had been trying to sell magazines to businessmen, but most of them told me they were so busy they didn't have time to read the magazines they already subscribed to. On Wednesday, I succeeded in obtaining a letter from one of the most prominent judges in the city saying that he takes our magazine because it gives him all the really important and interesting news of the week in one short evening of reading. Then I procured a large list of prominent businessmen in the city who are already subscribers. Now, Mr. Becker, when I approach a man, I show him the judge's letter and this list. The very objection which has been stopping me is now my biggest asset. What I am trying to tell you is that I am no longer peddling magazines. I'm selling businessmen something they all want. I'm selling the most precious thing in life, more time. Only a few days before, the salesman felt that most of the people he called on looked down on him. He dreaded to go in to see those people. Now he had an entirely different outlook on the importance of the work he was doing. Here was the same man, selling the same product in the same city, succeeding where he had previously been failing. As I have told you, a number of years ago I was elected superintendent of a small Sunday school. I thought the important, immediate need of the school was for a larger organization, so I asked the pastor to give me a few minutes' time on the program at the following Sunday morning church service. I knew I had to make a sale. Now, I could have got up and told the congregation that this job had been wished on me and I would expect them to cooperate and help me, but I decided that I would have a much better chance of getting what I wanted if I talked to them about what they wanted. So here's what I did say. I want to talk to you for just a few minutes about some of the things you want. Many of you have children. You want them to come here to Sunday school and meet other nice children and learn more about life from the truths in the great book. You and I want our children to avoid some of the mistakes that I have made, and possibly some of you have made. How can we do this? The only way we can do it is by building a larger organization. You now have only 9 teachers in the Sunday school, including the pastor himself. We need at least 25. Some of you may be hesitant to teach because you have the same fears that I had only 12 months ago when I took a small class of boys, that you didn't know enough about the Bible. Well, I can tell you, you'll learn more about this book in 6 months by teaching these little children for 20 minutes each Sunday morning than you will ever learn in 6 years by merely listening, and it will do more for you. You husbands and wives can study and prepare the lessons together. It will give you something more in common, bring you closer together. If you have children of your own, they too will take a greater interest when they see you active. Remember Jesus' parable about the 3 men who were given the talents? You men and women have been given many talents. I don't know of any better way you can improve and multiply your talents than through this work. What happened? That morning, we got 21 new teachers. At first, there were not enough children to go around, but we divided them up. Some classes started off with only 2 or 3. And then we put on a house-to-house canvass. We enrolled all but 3 of the Protestant children in the community of Winfield, Pennsylvania. Finally, the little chapel wouldn't hold all the members, so we had to build a new church. And in a 3-month campaign, the people of Winfield United Presbyterian Church raised $180,000, all contributed by some 372 men, women, and children. Those teachers were certainly not entirely responsible for this amazing record, but the fact is it couldn't have happened if it hadn't been for the growth of the Bible school. When you show a man what he wants, he'll move heaven and earth to get it. This universal law is of such paramount importance that it takes precedence over all other laws of human relations. It always has been and always will be the most important. Yes, it looms up as rule number 1 over all other rules in civilization. Benjamin Franklin understood the importance of this law. He even formed a prayer that helped him get it down into his heart. When I first began reading Franklin's autobiography, I was interested to discover that he had been saying the same prayer every day for 50 years. I live in Philadelphia, the town where Benjamin Franklin spent most of his life, and he has always been an inspiration to me. I said to myself, if that prayer helped Ben Franklin, it certainly ought to help me. So I have been saying the prayer for more than 25 years. It helped me get my mind off myself and what I was going to make out of a sale, and get my mind on the other person and what he would get out of the sale. Franklin wrote, "And conceiving God to be the fountain of wisdom, I thought it right and necessary to solicit his assistance for obtaining it. To this end, I formed the following prayer, which was prefixed to my tables of examination for daily use." Here is the prayer, Ben Franklin's prayer. O powerful goodness, bountiful Father, merciful guide, increase in me that wisdom which discovers my truest interest. Strengthen my resolutions to perform what that wisdom dictates. Accept my kind offices to thy other children as the only return in my power for thy continual favors to me. Summed up, number 1, the most important secret of salesmanship is to find out what the other fellow wants, then help him find the best way to get it. Number 2, there is only one way under heaven to get anybody to do anything. Did you ever think of that? Yes, just one way. And that is by making the other person want to do it. Remember, there is no other way. 3, when you show a man what he wants, he will move heaven and earth to get it.